Russia has seen some hugely influential businesses take a stand against their invasion. Google, Nike and Apple are just some of the major firms to halt all product sales there. I'm asking, will big business force Putin to end his war? What are your thoughts? Get in touch. I've still got my panel with me, former Liberal Democrat MP Len Bedopic and former Conservative adviser Claire Pearsall. Right, and as ever, this show is nothing without you, so please get your thoughts and views in at GB News or email gbviews@gbnews.uk. Right. So, well, those two were doomsayers. I mean, I'm sorry about that, but I listened to what they had to say, and they basically said, oh, we're so interlinked globally that there's nothing that can be done. And I didn't like the sound of that, because I think there is always something.
But I think it's really obvious that you have to be careful. We always look for, we must do something, and then we fall for whatever that something may be, and we take that as the way forward, and it doesn't always work. So, yes, there was an awful lot of doomsaying, but I do think this is quite complicated. It isn't going to be solved easily, and I think it's actually in the hands of the Russian people. I think that they could be the ones to solve this, because the sanctions are hitting Russia as a whole. It is not saying, oh, well, Russian citizens, you're not part of the regime, so therefore we're not going to touch you. It's going to affect them. If you're taking away Google, Apple, Nike, IKEA, all of those businesses, that is affecting people's day-to-day lives. If they can't use their phones, they can't get a new phone, they can't go and purchase, you know, a new wardrobe, for argument's sake. It looks quite funny on paper. However, these are people's lives that we're now affecting. They can't go and use Apple Pay, for example. They can't watch Netflix. All the very basics of their lives are being taken apart for something which isn't their fault. So that will, in turn, make those people angry. So you may then see an uprising, and I think that could be the way forward for stopping the war, is his own people rising up against Putin.
Interesting, because I sometimes think that we actually overcomplicate things, and that's where the problem lies. In actual fact, it's actually a lot more simple than that, and I do agree that the people will hold the key, but it's those businesses retracting their deals with Russia that may end up forcing the hand. But Lembit, I think you've got a different view.
No, not completely. I think that you're largely right. My big picture answer is, what could create an escalated war? What could create a nuclear war is politicians. What can stop the war is the public. Because the public might even acquiesce to saying, OK, we'll let the Russians come in for a while and so on. And remember, we're talking about hundreds, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands dead, as happened in Iraq with what I believe to be the illegal invasion by UK and America. But then you've got to win the hearts and minds. And the reason we lost in Afghanistan is because the Taliban did that, and the West did not. So big business is instrumental. Big business won't do it, but the public will say, just like you said, we can't get our flat
But that is big business. That is business. That might be the public responding, but it's big business ultimately going in and refusing to trade. But it is,
they will be it's the catalyst for the individual.
Yeah, but there's a nuance here, because big business is losing business as well. Russia's a very important market, in my view. But what happens is the public will eventually say, and I include the billionaires as the public, saying, come on, Vladimir, you've got to stop this. This is ridiculous.
But it depends what they've been told, though, because even from you've even said that from all the areas that you've been to, certain areas that they don't see it the way we in the West see it.
It's not what they're being told, it's what they genuinely think. The Bulgarians, once again, to remind you, I was there last week, they're not being told rubbish, they just have a different interpretation.
Which is what?
The interpretation is NATO has overstepped its mark, the West is overtly predatory, as is NATO, and Putin is not surprisingly responding, because Ukraine is so strategically important to Russia, and has been for a century or 2 centuries even. So what could happen, and that's kind of the big picture debate, that's the political debate, that's what could lead to a nuclear war. But the public is saying, all right, you know, we'll put up with this up to a point, and OK, big business might withdraw some of its services, or many of its services. I don't think Ivan in a tank in Kiev is going to surrender because he can't get his Netflix subscription renewed.
But it's not those people that you're talking about. It is the people sitting back in Russia getting on with their lives who are being affected. So you're not talking about those who are fighting, but the ones who are left in Moscow and over towards Siberia and all the rest of it.
And that's why I'm agreeing with you. That's why I'm agreeing with you. And dark thing for my background. The very first time I was on this show, I was talking about my history, and I mentioned that I lived under the shadow of the bomb. I was taught it was better to be dead than red, because so much damage had been done to my family history. And now, and I was so depressed on Sunday, I lost Sunday because I thought, oh, well, we're heading towards a nuclear war. My view has changed only because of the consultations I had with people in Moscow, in Bulgaria and other places. And what you've said is basically right. My opinion now is that we have to recognise that the public will eventually say, come on, Vladimir, that's enough. However much you think he's a dictator, he isn't going to be able to resist a resistant public.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's doing his best and he's not listening to anybody at all.
Yeah, but I don't think he can sustain that.
As ever, this shows nothing without you. Well, I hope he can't, and I don't believe he can either, but we'll see. It's nothing without you, so let's welcome one of our great British voices, and it's your opportunity to be on the show and tell us what you think about what we're discussing. So Carol Wright is a health, grief and wellness coach from Northamptonshire. She joins us. Carol, what do you think? Do you think big business could be the catalyst to help to end this war?
No. I don't think it will be the catalyst to end the war. As your two speakers have just said, you know, it's just taking away some business and things unless the people are uprising about the fact that they haven't got those products. Then I don't think that Putin's going to listen. He's just going to do what he wants to do and get on with it.
Do you, in your mind, see anything that you think could help to end this war?
People need to start speaking up and start questioning the reasons behind everything.
Yeah, OK. Thank you very much, Carol. Really good to talk to you. That's Carol Wright in Northamptonshire. That's what Carol thinks people need to...
Carol's interesting there because I actually think that we imagine that Putin's just a dictatorship on his own. Every dictatorship is really a democracy because he's got people around him and they'll moan to him. If his generals start saying, now, come on, Vladimir, this isn't working well, even Vladimir Putin, who isn't, I literally say again, he's not insane, will feel the pressure. Now, that's a minority view, but here in this country, but eventually he has to listen. I don't think he wants to destroy his country.